Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to get into the seventh part of our discussion on nutrition, and today we're going to talk about, it kind of goes back into a previous topic we talked earlier about nutrition, but we're going to talk about today about nutrition and altering body composition. We kind of talked a little bit about body composition before, but we want to reintroduce it because now that we talked specifically about protein, carbohydrates, and fat along with water, now we want to reintroduce that to you and show you how you can alter your body composition, whether it's losing fat or gaining muscle, and what some basic tips are that you can do. Now, this is going to be a fairly short chapter, but the biggest thing is that this is a loaded chapter, and the fact that we could talk hours about how to specifically change someone's body composition. The most important thing to remember, and this is not a shameless plug towards us or towards any of the fitness coaches, but for the most part, if you really want to alter your body composition through nutrition, having a fitness professional that's going to be in your corner to help kind of map things out for you is going to be the best way to go, because it ultimately does depend greatly on your circumstances, on exactly what you should do. We're touching the very basics, and we're hoping to kind of open your mind, broaden your thoughts on nutrition, and maybe kind of get outside the box a little bit on what traditional dieting kind of thinks about. And so we definitely want to talk today in generalities, because really for the most part there is many different ways to do this, and a one-stop approach, anything that sorry, my phone is going off, so I had to hit that. But in a one-stop approach, anything that is a cookie cutter and gets one person, that probably isn't the best option for everybody, because it's not going to work differently. You need an experienced coach that's going to be able to know your body, know your body type, know what you're capable of doing, and then fit the routine or program, in this case nutrition, for what's right for you. So it ultimately does depend. But one of the things we want to look at two different subjects today. And the first subject is we want to touch some bullet points on how specifically to alter your nutrition to change body composition. And the first point that we're going to talk about is fat loss. But before we talk about that, we're talking about general average dieting here. We're talking about baseline things that everyone should do. It's what I do when I began. With Forster Fitness, we do a lot of outside the box thinking. We do a lot of different types of strategies and different trying out of things to find new ways to do things. It doesn't mean that it's better. The way that we're going to tell you today is the ideal way, but doing it the ideal way can get kind of boring at times. So we have, if you work with us, you know about our up day, down day diets. You know about our rotational diets. You know about carb loading and carb meals and refeeds and all these different things that we do. And that isn't to say those are superior. In fact, if I was to tell you what the best way to do it, it is the way that we're going to talk about it today. Those are just ways that are a little bit better, or perhaps maybe different, for those that are a little bit more advanced or more seasoned, or someone that has the capabilities of trying some unique outside the box type of concepts. What we're talking about today is general nutrition. And so therefore what the first point that we want to cover today is fat loss. And some of the things that I have listed or written down is we want to, probably the most important point in losing fat is that we want to distribute protein, carbohydrates, and fat throughout the day at each of your meals. So as we discussed in previous chapters, you shouldn't load too heavy your carbs at one meal. You shouldn't load your proteins, your fats, anything. It should be distributed evenly throughout the day. So you're never eating carbohydrates by themselves. So you're not having too much of a fluctuation in blood sugar levels, or some of the other things we'll talk about in a second. But distributing them that evenly throughout the day. And that's another thing where fitness coaches come into play, is that we can show you specifically how to structure your meals so it is evenly distributed throughout the day, how that nutrition looks so you're getting an even distribution of protein, carbohydrates, and fat. The second point would be we want to choose whole grains and fresh fruits and vegetables over refined grains and simple sugars. And that will also go into having a distribution equally, that you don't, whole grains, fresh vegetables, plenty of fiber. That's great. You don't want to do carbohydrates by themselves. So adding in a protein and a fat will also help. But if at all possible, you want to choose mostly whole grains, fresh vegetables, fresh, more of the fresh carbohydrates over things that are very refined and simple in nature. Also, eating about 4 to 6 meals a day. Eating more meals, it's going to do things such as control your hunger better. It will help regulate blood sugar levels so there's not too much of a jump up or down. It will increase your energy, and it will also prevent the risk of overeating as well too. And then the other thing that we also want to focus on or look at for trying to lose fat is we want to avoid empty calories and processed foods as much as possible. So the best way to look at a processed food is look at, can it be grown or is it living? Is it living or can it be grown? If it's not, then chances are it's processed. So staying away from simple foods and processed foods is another very helpful thing for looking to lose fat. And so when we talk about simple foods or empty calories, what is an empty calorie? And we've used this example before, is taking a glass of soda and a bowl of grapes, and each are about equal in calories. Each have about the same amount of calories, but the glass of soda over here is very, very empty in its calories because the nutritional content of it isn't very high. Where the bowl of grapes over here with the same calories, same carbohydrates, everything is going to be much more nutrient dense. So when we talk about avoiding empty calories and processed foods, what we want to look at more is nutrient dense foods. Foods that contain a high level of nutrients, amino acids, and vitamins and minerals and things that are very nutrient dense. And so I think the best analogy to give you would be, it's kind of like the soda and grapes thing, but if you take two diets, 2,000 calories versus 2,000 calories. A calorie is a calorie, but the big thing now is the 2,000 calories over here could be very empty, very just, non-nutrient dense, just made up of a lot of garbage, where the 2,000 calories over here can be from, good quality lean meats, good healthy fats, whole grains, fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, the same amount of calories, contains a very high quality amount of protein, good quality proteins, and also a ton of nutrients, vitamins, minerals, good amino acid profiles. Same calories. Which one do you think is going to be more productive in your system? So obviously, don't even need to answer that. So we also want to look at nutrient density and the quality of our foods too, eliminating empty calories and processed foods. We've talked about that in the previous chapter, but drinking a lot of water. It goes without said. If you need to understand why you need to drink more water, go back and read the previous chapter or watch the previous chapter. And one thing that's very important, and it's my shameless plug to the body or the ExerSpy and what we do through the HFPN and .fit is to weigh and measure all of your foods for at least a week. And I encourage to do it even more frequently than that, because after doing this for 15 years or more, I still can't eyeball a food and tell you how many ounces it is. I can get close, but the example I would use is if you take a regular piece of meat, generally it will be like 50 calories per ounce, let's say. And let's say that you're just guesstimating. Let's say you're supposed to eat 6 ounces of meat, but you guesstimate it, and you really are underestimating it and eating 2 ounces extra per day. Well, it doesn't seem like a lot, but that is, basically 100 calories extra per day. Over a week, that's 700 extra calories. And over 5 weeks, that's an additional pound of body fat every 5 weeks that you could have lost by just being more precise with your diet. So even if you did it for just a week, you will be more aware of what you're doing. You'll be more aware of the choices that you're making. And so therefore, weighing and measuring your food using tools like we use through HFPN and .fit allows you to enter your food, see what you're doing, and very easily track what it is, so you're sticking within the parameters of what your coach is telling you. Finally, we're going to cover it real quick, but the increase in lean muscle. The increase in lean muscle, kind of does some of the same principles with a little bit different, is that we want to eat about 4 to 6 meals that is going to create those meals that are going to help create a greater insulin response to improve protein synthesis. And I guess the second point that we would make is we want to evenly spread protein throughout the day to take advantage of that first thing. Because if you're trying to increase protein synthesis through a greater insulin response. If you're just taking all your protein in at one meal, your body isn't going to be able to utilize all that. So a constant feeding throughout the day of all of your proteins will kind of help your body with that increased protein synthesis from a greater insulin response, which is going to help out in building a muscle. So I know that's kind of deep and kind of technical, but the best way to just remember it is eat frequently throughout the day with your proteins, and your chances of building more muscle is going to be greater than just a couple bulk meals. And then if you're trying to build muscle, the difference between building muscle and losing fat is the fact that then you can get into specific post-workout meals and having that, taking advantage of that post-workout opportunity, that window of post-workout for helping with recovery and muscle building. And so typically with people, I generally recommend a quick carbohydrate and protein that will get into their system quickly after training. And the best, easiest way to do that is a simple protein shake that would get into their system with a carb. You could be either a protein that you buy that has carbs and protein in it, or what I have a lot of clients do is a simple whey protein with Gatorade, Powerade, something like that that's going to get quick, simple carbohydrates in their system after training to help them recover from training. And then immediately after that, about an hour to an hour and a half later, eating a whole meal. So that post-workout window to get a liquid, probably protein, carbohydrate in immediately to get into your system, and then about an hour later, typically I recommend beef and potatoes due to the great nutrient consistency in potatoes and their more simple nature, and how that can get more carbohydrates shuttled into your system quicker. And Google a potato and its nutrient content and the amount of potassium and many other minerals and nutrients that are in it. It's a very underrated food, and the amino acid profile in beef is phenomenal. So lean beef, if people are willing to do it, is something I recommend after their shake when they get home, if doable. But we're talking about muscle building post-workout, and the other thing that is important to remember about building muscle is you have to have an emphasis on carbs and fat. Protein by itself, when you're trying to build muscle, is not going to help you build muscle. You need enough calories, and you need a blend of protein, carbohydrates, and fat, to build the appropriate amount of muscle. And once again, finally, it's not just us. Try to seek out a good qualified nutrition coach that can help you, show you how to plan out your meals to take advantage of what your goals are, to help you with all this. So I hope this in general kind of helps you. I appreciate you joining us today. We've got a couple more chapters on nutrition, and I hope this kind of helps you generally see what you need to do for fat loss, what you need to do more for muscle gains, and I will look forward to having you join us next time. When you feel that something's wrong, I'll shelter you and keep you warm. I'll never let you